So first off, this isn't a switch. This is a value slider. Cool. So now it says value slider on there. And now we want to make this nub here. That's the cool bit. So we want to just make a sculpt. This will never be seen. This is just something to grab a hold of. So I'll turn off the grid and just stretch it to a size I like. But keep it kind of square-ish. Okay, and then we will. Oh no, it will need to be thinner, I think. But poking out the front of that. And that is this thing that we'll be grabbing onto. And it'll start over there. So this will be invisible. So let's turn that off. Don't need it collidable, and we want it grabbable because we will be using with the grid. We will be using a slider. Let me double check what this is. It's a slider. Cool. So I'll just plonk that anywhere and plonk down there, and then make sure it's in a line like that. And you want to make sure these limits are correct, so that this is the minimum limit. So where this blue dot is on the thing you're moving, make sure the yellow limit is at that blue dot. And then we could just move that to visualize it. Want that to be the end, so we'll just put it there. That's fine. And don't need that, don't need that. We need to know if we are grabbing that there. And if we are, we don't need that one. We are, but then we want to, the reason I couldn't tweak that connector is because I was recording with a keyframe and it just doesn't let you. So then you might get the sculpt instead. So you have to open that first. And you want to turn that tightness down to 0 while you're holding it, like so. So if we just see what happens, you can't actually see it. Let's make it visible. So I can drag it, but as soon as I let go, it's stuck in place. Oh, we don't want that to be. Oh, don't want that to be grabbable. Let's do that. It's just instantly stuck in place, which is what we want for the slider. Cool, so that part's done. Now we need to actually display the number in here, and probably this as well. So we will do all that in a chip because displayers are huge. And use that. Let's just make that way smaller. Okay. Probably scope it in to make a group actually, because then we can have that actual chip out of the way a bit. Let's turn that off. Okay, now we'll put the displays in here. So I believe the code for the slider thing is UI sliders. Yeah. Cool. Cool, so that's that. And I tried getting the border to work within this same text display before, but it was a bit of a nightmare. So I'm just going to not have the border or the background. And I'm just going to scale it up. And we can make, stop selecting that, and we can make that invisible again. So now you're actually grabbing that same kind of icon. What's next? Now we want to actually display the value. So we'll have yeah, for the settings again we'll have an actual value slider, but we'll just make this hidden because it's so huge. And we will just take the value of that, and we'll need it in here. So let's make a node. So first I'll show you what this gives you. We have a number displayer and we have connector completion, which doesn't sound like it means much, but what it means is we have the limits here. The smallest limit is 0 and the maximum limit is 1. So if you drag it to be halfway across, it will give you 0.5. So if we try that, that's at 0 and then 1, and 0.5 is somewhere in the middle. So we're going to use that, and we'll actually have to use some crazy signal manipulation in the custom remapper. So so let's say, so we're taking between 0 and 1, and we can set it to some other mapping like that. That's fine. We'll just do that for now and make it work properly in a bit. So we get the completion into there, and yeah, we don't need that. Yeah, so we'll add that like output node like we had before, and we'll just plug that straight into there. So then, and delete that, and we can just display that so you can see it's being affected. So -1 to 2.3 it appears, and that's -1, and that's 2.3. So that's working. But we want to control what that range is by these value slider settings, so people can use it in a somewhat easy to understand way. That bit though is a little bit more complicated. So we have this input here, remap thresholds input, and if we take the output and split it, we can see what values that has. And let's just use value sliders, make them okay, so you're getting input minimum from A, and then maximum from B, and then output minimum, and then output maximum. So we want to make the same kind of fat wire going in with those kinds of values. So we'll make it a 4 type value, and we will plug it into there. And so the input will be input minimum will be 0. The output minimum will be 1, or the input maximum will be 1. That's better. And then we'll use these settings from here. The minimum value into there, the maximum value into there, and then we'll just check as we change those how it affects things. So we're still getting the 0 and 1 from input, and then we're getting, so if I don't hover over it, you see the value being set by the wire. So it's got minus 4.7 around here, which is what this minimum is, and as you change the maximum, 5.1, now the maximum is at 5.1 up there. So that's working. Cool, so let's save that again. And play. So we're getting minus 4.7 to 5.1. Just as we wanted. So next is to actually display that on the gadget like it is down here. So this, we will use that same value, output value. So let's get a number displayer. 1 decimal place, like on there, although you could adjust that easily. And we'll plug that into the number. It says number range for some reason. And we'll make that in the scene. Cool, and we don't want the borders or background. We'll make it larger. And we want that to be left aligned, because it's going to show to the right normally. Yeah, so it will be to the right, and if we just test that, that's working fine. But of course when we're at the right edge, then it's like hanging over. So around the midpoint, we want that to be over to the left instead. So let's do that. So we want to do a little of stuff with this value coming in. So we'll put it through a modifier. Put that in there. And if it's actually, we don't want to use that. We want to use this completion value. So let's do that the other way around. So that still just uses the value coming from the signal manipulator. This node is for the completion value of the connector. So if the completion value is more than 0.5, then we'll put it over to the left. So we'll do that. So then we want it right aligned, and we want it, select that. Oh, is it wonky? I don't know. Let's just put it there and pretend like we didn't see anything. Right. So that's not doing anything because we need to power it. There you go. Cool. So now it just flips over to the other side halfway through. And I have a value slider. And then you just wire that up to... Oh, it's already wired up. We'll just put it on the grid. Cool. We made it white, I think, on the other one. And we'll group all that up like that. Oh, and it glowed. That other one glowed, didn't it? So let's make that same 16%. Cool. So now you can use these in if you have like a control panel for the player to use to like control the experience or something. You can use these, or you can, of course, you can use these techniques to make them look however you like. You can make this slider go up and down instead, or affect all sorts of things, and use it however you like.